podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
The Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown.
Okay, finally, all the Marvel movies are done. That was a hard, fun miniseries to do. Got all the movies out of the way. Endgame's finally in the theater. And all the shows are done. And now we can realize, what the hell? Where did he come from? Why is he here?
Because he's our guest. He's our guest for the next month. I'm so excited. You could look a little happier. You're going to hurt his feelings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on. He's an icon. He's an international star.
Yeah, he is. And for the next 31 days, we're going to talk about him.
Yes.
Over and over again.
Yes.
Welcome to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown, presented by Subject Cinema and Kaiju Corner. And PNRNetworks, of course. I'm TC Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
This is all her show, by the way.
I'm so excited.
We're going to be covering, in honor of the release of Godzilla King of the Monsters on May 31st, 2019, we're going to be covering 31 popular Godzilla movies.
Yes.
That's going to leave some of them out.
Yes.
But we picked the ones that we liked.
We picked the ones that we like.
She picked the ones that she liked.
Yes.
I had nothing to do with this list.
Yes.
So
if you're waiting for us to do it, we were talking about the Roland Emmerich movie, you have a long wait.
And Shin Godzilla, which was the new attempt to launch it, and we just didn't like it.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So,
all right.
But we are going to tackle them in chronological order and just do a few minutes about each one every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope you'll join us. Be sure to spread the word to all your friends. Listen and spread it on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else.
Yes.
Let everybody and all Godzilla fans know we're here counting down to the new film coming out later this month.
Very, very, very
We're going to kick it off, though, with the first film, or rather, the first set of films, 1954's Gojira and 1956's Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which are the same film, but there are differences in the Japanese and American versions.
Yes.
Now, you can get a full, huge, analytical look at all of these films coming up on Kaiju Corner with Kim Brown, her new Kaiju show. In order to hear it, though, you got to be a patron on Patreon at the $5 or higher level.
Well,
and 3 shows are available and more are coming.
Well, it's analytical as being told by me, so I mean.
But but it's you. You've been a fan all your life.
I've been, pretty much. I've been a Godzilla fan since I was a very tiny child.
And we don't want to spoil all that stuff because you talked about that on Kaiju Corner. So let's get to the first movie.
Okay, Gojira, which is what Godzilla was called in his native country, was this film that was truly amazing, and I think that nobody really knew what they had in their hands when they made this film.
Obviously not, because they killed him off.
Right. Yep. And that was the problem. The film directed by Akira Honda and
Ishiro Honda.
I'm sorry. I combined 2 names. I'm sorry. I was thinking of something different. Directed by Ishiro Honda and sound done by Akira Ikefube, who was the man that created Godzilla's roar, along with the music for this film. I squished it all together in my head. I'm sorry.
That's
so
all right.
excited.
It's okay.
Obviously, this film, to some people, this film is just, it's a guy in a rubber monster suit stomping on fake buildings. And they're entitled to their opinion.
Well, even critics like the original film.
They're wrong, but they're entitled to their opinion. Obviously, they were trying to make a statement with this film, with Godzilla being a stand-in for the ravages that had occurred in Japan because of the atomic bombs that were dropped on them during at the end of World War II.
Right.
And it is a beautiful film. It's really an amazing film. It's very moving. And if you've only seen Godzilla King of the Monsters, which also has some very touching scenes in it, you don't have the same... I don't think they have the same impact as they do in Gojira.
They have equal impacts, but they're slightly different.
Well, there's...
At least how I would say it.
Well, one scene that doesn't... for some reason, and I don't know why, between Gojira and Godzilla King of the Monsters, obviously the big difference is the fact that they put a bunch of Americans in, well, a bunch of Asian American actors and Raymond Burr.
Playing world news reporter Steve Martin. Mm-hmm. Before he became a wild and crazy guy that was a lot skinnier and white hair.
No, not that Steve Martin.
Well,
Stop
the name
it.
is the same, is what I'm saying.
Stop that. I think, and I really do think they made the right decision with doing that, simply because I'm not entirely sure. While Gojira did play in America in cinemas that, catered to the Japanese audience that was here,
including one in Boston.
Including one in Boston.
Yep.
Which is sadly long gone, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It closed not that long after that.
Trying to release this film to an American audience, not even 15 years after World War II, I don't think it would have caught on. So having, and I know some people would be like, oh, well, why'd they, stick a white guy in there and all that stuff like that. And I do think that at least having one character that most of the audience might be able to identify with better, I think it made a difference. And to be perfectly honest, those scenes are pretty seamless.
They are. They're done really well.
They're done very, very well.
Raymond Burr did them over the course of just 1 or 2 days.
I've heard 3.
Okay.
And I don't know how
there was no
that
truth to
might
the fact that they did them all one day and he had no sleep, blah, blah, blah. That's an
that's not accurate.
Apocryphal story.
But
he was very protective of the character from that point on.
He was. A lot of people who have started off in horror movies, because let's face it, not everybody's going to be cast as Luke Skywalker their first film. You have to pay your dues and stuff like that. And a lot of people have done schlocky horror movies.
Yeah,
and things.
but Burr had done Rear Window at this point,
yes,
so he was already a well-known name.
But my thing is, this film was, I think, probably one of his first sympathetic roles. Mm-hmm. And it might have helped him get Perry Mason. He always said that he thought that it might have.
Yeah.
But my point is that you have... like I mentioned before, jumping back to the difference in scenes, there's a scene that I've seen in both the American version and the Japanese version, of a mother and her 2 children, and they're cowering up against a building while Godzilla's on one of his rampages. And in the Japanese version, she's saying that they'll be with their father soon. They'll all be with her husband, the father of the children, obviously implying the father's dead. They're all going to be dead soon. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very sad. That scene is in King of the Monsters, but there's no dialogue.
No, it's just part of the panic scene.
It's just there. And it's still a very powerful scene, but it lacks that punch to the gut that I feel that the Japanese scene has.
Well, it wouldn't have had that impact on American audiences anyway, I don't think.
You don't think so? Even dubbed or something like that? You don't think so? No? Okay, well. As we mentioned, and as TC brought up, there are differences between Gojira and Godzilla. The biggest difference, I think, I would say would be the end. The end of the film is actually the main part of the ending of the film, the whole part about Godzilla being destroyed by this invention created by this professor, this thing called an oxygen destroyer, which I still don't think would work.
No, I don't either.
What do I
Not
know?
the way they show it.
Not the way they show it. I'm like, what? It's a very sad scene. I know some people are going to go, please tell me she didn't. Yes, she did.
It's Kim.
Yeah.
Of course she did.
She cried. Cried all through. Every time I've ever seen that scene, I sit there and sob. Cried in the middle of a movie theater. Didn't care if people around me were going, what the hell is her problem? But anyway, the end of the movie, Godzilla winds up being destroyed. The professor kills himself to keep his discovery out of the hands of the government and stuff like that, because he's the only one that he burned all his notes and blah, blah, blah. And also because he's there's kind of a love triangle kind of a deal thing, and he wants the 2 people to be happy together, and it's very tragic. The end of the American film, there's this,
Well, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You skipped you skipped part of the end of it.
What? What did I skip?
Well, after all that happens, we see them try to pull up Sarazawa, and he's cut the cord.
That's what I mean. He kills himself.
But the professor there, Professor Yamane, is that it? Is finding stuff and saying, what was I don't know if there's a quote there, but he's basically saying there could be more of them out there.
See, that's what I was getting at.
Right.
The American version, the American version doesn't have a truly uplifting ending. It's not one of those let's go home, endings in the sunset and the fading and all that stuff. The whole thing of it is they have Steve Martin giving a narration saying that the crisis is gone, but so is a great man. But maybe maybe tomorrow the world can wake up and live again or something like that. And that's the end of the movie. It's just done, bang. Like you mentioned, in the Japanese version, the professor says that unless people stop mucking around with stuff they don't understand, i.e. nuclear energy, who knows how many more Godzillas could be lurking out there waiting to, stomp us into paste. And while that's definitely not a happy ending, and it's definitely a more grim ending, I think both endings are... I don't know. Do you want to use downbeat or depressing?
They're very downbeat.
They're low key. Let's go with low key. I think they're both low key, although there is a slight sliver of hope in the American version with that whole "wake up and live again" line. It's very slight and it's very dim, but it is there. I don't think that, like I said, I don't think they knew what they were getting when they released this film.
Well, they let that little seed in there.
Yeah.
And that was it, because they weren't sure.
They weren't sure. They were not sure that people might just be like, oh, neat. And just be like, oh, monster movie, cool. And just go on their way. That didn't happen.
No.
People went crazy. And
Japan went crazy.
They
didn't really get around to doing it in America for 2 more years. And then
they had to do all that.
By the time that was going crazy here, they were already working on the sequel.
By then, Godzilla Mania had definitely hit Japan.
Yeah. She's always been a lot bigger fan of these than I have been. But I truly like both of the original ones. They're really well written.
They're really well written. They're well done.
And so many.
And Godzilla is straight up terrifying.
Yeah, he is.
I know a lot of people out there who are not G fans, in which case I don't know why you're listening to this, but whatever. Maybe we'll convert you.
That's the idea. We'll convert you.
I know some people might be like, how can you actually say this about a guy in a suit and it's kind of like dumpy looking and stuff like that? And the later suits...
The stuff in the 60s clearly was, and some of the 70s.
The later suits were not... They changed the look of the character. We'll get into that as we're going along. But if you see Godzilla from the first... If you had never seen a movie like this, and the first time we see Godzilla, we don't actually see all of Godzilla.
No.
We just see his head coming up over the top of a I don't know if I'd call it a mountain range.
A ridge.
A ridge. I don't know if it's a mountain. I think a hill.
It's a large hill.
It's a large hill. It's a large hill. And the first time you see this creature, your first reaction is definitely, holy run! Yeah, it is your first reaction is, wow, that's big. The next reaction is, oh crap,
I'm out of here. Goodbye.
It's coming this way and I need to leave. It's really quite frightening. To be honest though, I have to say that I actually found Godzilla even more disturbing looking in the next film. We'll get to that when we get to it. Mm-hmm. It's, like I said, this film series, for reasons that I still don't quite know why, resonated with me as a very small child.
And millions of other people.
And obviously. Millions of other people. And it's led to a lot of, misconceptions and first misconception, we're going to do it right now, we're going to get it out of the way.
Godzilla is not green.
Thank you.
He is gray.
Yes, Godzilla is not green. For some reason that I don't know why they did this, when they brought the poster to America and they inserted Raymond Burr's picture in there, they made Godzilla green. Granted, he's not like
because green makes more sense for a reptile or amphibian than gray.
Well, Well, if you look at something like an alligator or a crocodile or something like that, they're not particularly green.
But they're
green. More of a brownish color.
But
that's
they have
how they
green
can.
in them. I mean, that's the way. I mean, Godzilla has flicks of green in him too.
He has flecks of green in him, but he's not straight out green. I mean, if you look at some of like the old Aurora model kits, and I know some people just went, my heart, oh my gosh, I can't believe she remembered those. I do, actually.
And for those of you who don't, you can probably find out about them on MeTV's new series, Collector's Call.
Yeah, or ask your parents. I remember seeing a Godzilla figure, and I was like, I mean, I don't want to sound
Kids
like
don't want to put together a gray monster.
Well, my thing was that that's Godzilla. Really? Y'all have seen this movie, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I realize...
Well, no, that's not fair, because the first one's in black and white.
Well, I realize that, but I'm sorry. At the risk of sounding like a monster movie snob, I mean,
What, you? Never.
Okay, your sarcasm has been noted. Thank you. But I'm just kind of like, that does not look like Godzilla. The crest on the back, the ridges is wrong. The arms are wrong. Everything's wrong.
Wow.
Wrong. But like I said, I want to sound like I have to be honest. I probably couldn't put one of those kits together if you put a gun to my head.
Right. Well, don't do that.
Well,
don't say things like that.
You know what I mean. But these films, like I said, they caught on.
Yeah.
They resonated with people. And I think it's because some people, like I said, they just look at these films as just, monsters slugging each other in the face and stuff like that in rubber suits. And you can look at it that way. But also you can look at it the way I do, if you like. Mm-hmm. My whole thing about Godzilla is that you have some people that say, oh, Godzilla's a bad guy. They always put him on lists of movie villains, and I get pissed off and yell about it for an hour or so. Godzilla is not evil. Godzilla is not good. Godzilla simply is.
He's a force of nature.
He is an embodiment of nature. He is... Yeah, it's like, you wouldn't call a tornado evil. If a tornado came through a town and wrecked everything and it was a mess...
It can look as evil as you'd want it to look, because it's scary, but it's not evil. It doesn't think.
It's not... The tornado didn't do that to be an ass. It just did it because it's a tornado. That's what it does. What people don't seem to get is that Godzilla is an animal. He's an animal. You don't think of animals as being good or evil.
Right.
The only animal that is capable of good or evil is us.
Us, right.
Because we're still animals.
Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
Anyway.
Although some people argue cats are evil, and those people are completely wrong.
Yes, they are. Tomorrow, we will go back into the time vaults again for the next film in the... Au revoir? Is that what I'm looking for?
I guess so.
Godzilla is the longest running film series of its type in the world, with over 35 films since it started. That's longer than Bond, that's longer than Star Wars, even longer than the Avengers Marvel universe.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Which is crazy when you consider that back in the 70s, the Marvel did do a crossover with Godzilla, which is hilarious.
Yeah. We will be back tomorrow to talk about the second film in the group, and again we got a little bit of a discrepancy here, so we'll have to talk about it then. Yeah. In Japan, it was called Godzilla Raids Again from 1955. In America, it didn't come out until 1958 and was called Gigantus the Fire Monster. Mm-hmm. We still haven't figured that out. You can see the original, by the way, on Svengoolie when he runs it. He runs the Godzilla Raids Again cut.
Yes.
And
you can also see them. I'm not sure if they're still running them, but Starz was running the subtitled versions for a while.
Yeah. And you can find them all online.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have a complete list and rundown of them as the month goes on.
Yep.
Until next time, for our wonderful new series for Kaiju Corner and Subject Cinema, the Big G's Tokyo Town StompDown. I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown from Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner at eCinemaOne.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNRNetworks.